this time I actually will remember to press record. You know, all this high-tech stuff. I'm going to get this off because I don't need to monitor my voice here. So I have a lot of tech here in my little space. A tiny little space in the back of the house, way in the back, in the corner, under the magnolia tree. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Raymond Quinton. I am your host of the Party Like a Writer Half-World Tour Blackjack Kerouac Magical Mystery Literary Tour. And this is our third episode. And thanks for spending a little time with me, taking a little time out of your life to listen to these words of, should I call them wisdom? Perhaps. Let's call them, wisdom. I've been around for a long time. I've been involved with media and publishing for a long time. I do consider myself a creative genius. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I own full rights to classify myself as a creative genius, as I encourage all of you to do the same. I am a writer, I am a publisher, I am an author, I am a thinker, I am also a jazz pianist, and I had the distinct honor of opening for Dizzy Gillespie at Denver's Union Station back in 1984. An honor that I hold dear to me. I met him. I shook hands with him. And when I say I met Dizzy Gillespie, I will qualify that. I was all of 24 and a hack pianist who happened to find myself in the right place at the right time in the Caboose Lounge. And so I walked up to him and I was like in awe because, I'd grown up on in college, big band music, and doing these gangster parties. And here was Dizzy Gillespie. And I walked up to him and I said, Mr. Gillespie, sir, pleased to meet you. Thank you for coming here to Denver. And he kind of looked at me and said, yeah. He held out his hand and shook hands with him. And, outside I was like going, thank you, sir. Inside I was going, this is awesome. Whoa. If you have ever met your hero, one of your biggest musical heroes, and shaken hands with one of your biggest musical heroes, the legend Dizzy Gillespie, then maybe you might have responded the same way too. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. All right, so anyway, I've got to speed things along here because last episode was like 30 minutes of my intro. My intro is supposed to be my intro. I'm supposed to recap, share some knowledge, pass some information along, give you a primer to the upcoming video logs of my driving 6,000 miles in America, spending 2 weeks in Japan, and then a week in San Francisco. 20,000 mile Party Like a Writer half-world tour. That's only half the tour. Second half will be next summer, the West Coast. But West Coast is a whole unique thing. The West Coast is a thing of its own, so I got to do the West Coast. It's going to be like the West Coast second half, the West half. You know what I'm saying? All right, so anyway, let's just recap very quickly. I'm going to try and keep this to 10 minutes if I can. The last episode, so basically what I did, I got a piece of crap van. I drove 6,000 miles and I did video logs along the way. And I also held a publishing party in Lawrence, Kansas, an event that I recorded and I feature, and we'll feature a full episode, the full event in one of my episodes later down the road. There's going to be 64 episodes, one a week, and I'm behind by 2 days by now because it's a huge undertaking, but that's my commitment. And the goal is to not to, sort of do these events and do these blogs and do these podcast just to show people how smart I am. My goal is to share knowledge, to learn, to basically speak about philosophy and sociology and archaeology and, sort of integrate all those things that I've learned over, I think what has been a pretty amazing life. to learn about you. In learning about you, to learn about myself, to share knowledge, to impart that on you through these podcasts, to do my part as a journalist, as a writer, as an educator, to help move society along. It just so happens I am a satirist, so I don't know. I like to make people laugh too. But the key point here is to help you sort of learn more about yourself through my experience of learning about myself. If you learn as much as you can about yourself, then you are empowered, you become empowered to influence the world around you. And, that involves everything. It involves the simple things all the way up to the complex things. That involves, certain elements of your relationships with your friends, with your family. If you get to a point, and again, that's another part of it. I'm 64. If you get to a point in your life where you have said, this is who I am, and I have discontinued learning new things. Again, I've met a lot of people, especially old farts have said, well, I've always been this way, or I am who I am, and say that it is what it is, and that's just the way it is, and Bob's your uncle, and catch as catch can, and I'm not going to start changing now. I've been this way all my life. I'm not going to start changing now. Why should I? Why should you? You should because you care about the world and the people around you, and that's part of what you see around you with all of this political chaos. Is there a segment of our society that's said we do not want to include a segment of our society? America is built on an idea, and what is an idea? An idea is what you make it. An idea is what's your influence to make it. And it just so happens right now we have so much media, so much information, as I said in my last episode, that society has, information-wise, that media has progressed far beyond society's ability to process it. And so therefore, a lot of individuals and part of our society is stuck in a Boolean loop, unable to make sense of the world around them. So now, why am I telling you you're probably informed and educated and interesting? So because as we look at the media landscape and we look at, the tools that are out there for us to, in order to share and inform and involve other members of our society, as a media person, I don't do these because I woke up one morning and said, hey, I'm going to do this, this podcast. I am a professional in the media. And I think it's important that even if you believe you know the media inside and out, you don't. You're being influenced. We're all being influenced in ways that we don't really understand and really know. And I have been a study of these influences, and I have been a student of these influences. And so, anyway, I'll impart some of that knowledge. And then, of course, I'm a marketing guy. I like promoting myself. And as I said in my last episode, if you wake up in the morning, you have an idea, and you say to yourself, hey, this idea is so important, I can't share it with anyone. If you write a manuscript and you put it in your closet and you say, that manuscript is so important, it's so great, I don't believe I can share it with anyone. Unless I find a publisher, unless I find someone to do. And again, I have a bad attitude, as I said in my last episode, and I defy all those trends. And I believe that you're in your 60s, your 70s, or you're just starting out, you're in your 20s and 30s, and you believe that what you create is so important that the situation has to be so perfect in order for you to share it with the world. Then I say, throw all that to the wind, forget all about that. And you can live the kind of life that I've lived, which is a fabulous life. And I've written my books about it. So this Party Like a Writer thing celebrates the publication of my 12th book, I know. Think about that. I've written about everything that I'm passionate about. Relationships. I have a relationship handbook. I was a relationship guru for a while. I even wrote a book about delivering newspapers. So anyway, whatever I felt needed to be written, I wrote. I published newspapers. Founded and published newspapers and magazines because I felt that, when I was younger, I discovered that I had these skills. I was able to write really, really well. Even after taking English 101, I was like, wow, this is great. So anyway, I discovered that. And there's writers amongst you out there who have discovered that within yourself. And then I took it one step further. I said, throughout my entire life, I will use words and this skill to do what I can to move society along, to inform and educate and learn about society for the entirety of my life, not just up to a certain point. And so even right now, even to this day, I have ideas for publications. I don't think print is not dead. You have to travel around the world to understand the value of print in other parts of the world. In America, there is sort of this ongoing script that, print is dead. It's not, I can tell you right now. It has morphed. And to that point, again, I'm going to try and keep this short, but there's so much to pack in here. Journalism, publications, newspapers were not invented. If you're a study of media and newspapers, journalism was not invented to serve every segment of the society. Journalism and newspapers and media and radio and was deliberately designed to sell advertising and to make money. It's as simple as that. And so it's in America. Now I'm saying in America because there's other countries where the media is sponsored by the government and does an incredible job. But in America, where even the media, print, press, the free press and free speech is protected by the Constitution, the media itself has been rolling along for 100 years. With the idea in mind that we can keep making more money. Even today, that concept that, it just needs to make money is prevalent. It has never been there to serve people of color in America. It's always done a lousy job. It will never do a good job of serving a diverse population in America. So what I believe we have to do is sort of nix that idea. And then, check this out. Publications, print, media are doing a good job of destroying their own industry because they've never protected it. So in other words, there's some journalists in this world who every morning have to wake up and ask this question: am I willing to risk my life for my career? Am I willing to go out that door and call myself a journalist and do an expose on a local warlord in order to help society? Am I willing to take that risk? And then, if they were to ask the question, what has this industry done to protect me locally in America and worldwide? Truth be told, very little. So I have a whole new idea about journalism and media and all that stuff. And it's a vision that envisions journalists being protected. If you go to school to get a journalism degree, which I have, then you are an exceptional part of this society, and you actually have committed yourself to serving the society in a way that no other industry does. So while everybody else is going about their jobs and doing their work, we're like trying to root out bad guys in the society. We're trying to make this society a better place, even if it is promoting art, promoting culture, or aspects of our culture, because I have ideas, different views of what culture means in America. So I envision an industry in the future, and again, this process has to start now, where journalism and journalists are actually defined. If you're a journalist, you're actually certified. You actually have a license to practice journalism. Otherwise, everybody's a freaking journalist. You're a journalist. I'm a journalist. Dog running down the streets of journalist. Everybody's a journalist, because it is not defined who and how a journalist, but it's an industry that I believe is kind of made up in a way. So anyway, let's not get stuck on that. I'll revisit that in another episode. In the last episode, I talked about, what does it... Anyway, let's not go. In this episode, let's jump right to this episode, and then I'm going to conclude. Driving through Nebraska. And, if you're watching this, and you probably watched a lot of or listened to, a lot of blogs about a lot of different things, you have the unique opportunity to get a perspective of the world from, a learned scholar, journalist, writer, publisher, who happens to be a commercial truck and bus driver. And part of what I wanted to talk about during this whole tour, this Party Like a Writer tour, is not only those experiences, but talk about my books too. So this episode, I'm going through Nebraska and Kansas. And who the hell's ever been through Nebraska and Kansas? Not many people. Unless you happen to be from Nebraska or happen to be from Kansas. If you happen to be from Kansas, you're from Kansas. You're not sitting around thinking of ways to get back to Kansas or get back to Nebraska. And, I apologize to all my Kansas, Nebraska fellow Americans who happen to watch this, and especially again if you're a person of color, because the Midwest is a weird, bizarre place for people of color, especially African Americans. But that doesn't mean we don't have communities that thrive there. But I can speak specifically for Kansas. When I left, I had no desire to go back. Now I go back. There's a slight little bit of nostalgia when I go back. There's a little bit of, sort of longing for a place, not much. I go back to see my mom, 97, my good friends, my family. Were it not for that, I don't know if I would ever go back. So anyway, I apologize for what I said about Western Kansas. It is the prairie. And the prairie, historically, again, I urge all of you to learn a little bit about sociology, about the history of America, about anthropology, and about geology. Because all of those things are relevant. In order to really appreciate Western Kansas, Dr. Tamanek, who's the president of Fort Hays State University, I took a class, geology class, and we would go out into the countryside, and he would talk a lot about, the plants, the native plants. He would talk about the Native Americans that lived there, and he would talk about the ecosystem, and that was fascinating. And then I'd go back to campus and, there was a lot of anxiety about being black in Western Kansas. So, but again, I deal with those dualities psychologically. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I survived that. So the fascination with I believe America and with our is the geological part of it, and the regional geological part of it, the sociological part of it, the ethnology part of it. That part of learning about peoples and places, learning about Nicodemus, the first black settlement in Western Kansas. All those things are part of my, so what informs who I am. But, again, in summertime, the fucking wind blows like crazy, and it's dusty. And when, early settlers came there, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So they died. They froze to death in Western Kansas. So again, I'm it's okay to admit that a place is barren and inhospitable and hostile to humans, and also too, and in the same breath say, yeah, there's a bit of nostalgia there. All right, so anyway, I'm digressing. So, as I'm driving through, in this next episode, I'm driving through Nebraska, which is a long state. You have to go all the way across. I just finished Wyoming. Oh my God, Wyoming. I was like, so when does this frickin' state end? And then I hit Nebraska. Nebraska was a little bit better. There were, it was actually green. There had been thunderstorms. And then I talk a little bit about truck driving. Why is it interesting or important? Why should you want to know anything about truck drivers and the truck driving world? Well, you're going to have to listen to the episode to understand why. I had to edit this one. Again, I kind of rambled on and on and on. But the truck drivers of the world are the segment of society that sees everything. It is a class of the society. Both privileged class, an exclusive community, and a group of individuals that see everything. I was part of that class during the pandemic, part of that group, driving around delivering produce while everyone else was hunkered down delivering produce, driving these big 36,000 GVW trucks delivering 12,000 pounds of produce every day, at 63 years old. And anyway, I know if we ever get a chance to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with that, about that, it's a fascinating story. But for the purposes of this video log, I had some sort of reflections about that, because then now I have an opportunity to spend 2 weeks on the road just sort of thinking about that experience and thinking about how it relates to my world as a writer, as an educator, creating within my world, within my life, sort of these opposing ideas, which I really appreciate and which I encourage everyone. The things you don't want to think about the things you're not interested in, be interested in. The things that you think you know a lot about, asking more questions, and then waking up in the morning, as I've said before, knowing that every day is a new opportunity to learn, grow, to be a better person, and to have a hell of a lot of fun. And then finally, the Party Like a Writer episode, not only does it celebrate my books, and my favorite, I'm going to tell you right now, is A Pitch and Crime, my novel. It is a crime novel. 600 pages. No. 600? It is 630 pages long. And there's a lot of great stuff in here. Again, I'm not going to say it's a great story. I don't encourage anybody to read it thinking it's a great story. It's an important story because there's a lot of amazing ideas in there, and the characters are just off the chain. So as a writer, again, we have an opportunity to learn, recap, interpret, share knowledge, and however we do it, we have to do it. I believe we're compelled. I believe writers have a duty to do that. We have an obligation to do that. If we're really good writers, we have an obligation to do that all of our lives and be inclusive. That doesn't mean waking up in the morning and going, well, okay, I'm going to go out to my deck and, just sort of think about stuff and write some stuff and then just forget about the rest of the world. Include the rest of it. Include people like me. Include women. Include, diverse populations. America as a concept includes everyone. America historically was not built on sort of a idea that we are going to, well, anyway, I'm going to wind that back. I'm not going to talk about America as an idea. I'm just going to say that America was built on an idea that we get there, we take everything that we can get our hands on, And unfortunately, the word got out that if you got to America, you can get yourself a few slaves and build a massive plantation to make crap loads of money. That's what it was built on. It was a financial proposition. And today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later on, there are several states, many states in the country that are sort of revisiting that plantation concept and how they run their states. And as I go through the South, we talk a little bit more about that, as well as we keep our eyes peeled for gators. You never know when a gator's going to jump up. Don't come out, jump out there. Oh, gator over there. Gator over there. All right, so anyway, I'm promoting my books, A Pitch and Crime, all available on Amazon. My second memoir book, out of 3, there's going to be 3. And it's called The Writing Storm, Book 2, T-O-O, with an exclamation mark. And then I have a bunch of children's books. I have some really cool children's book called Banana Pizza. So go to Amazon, check out my book. You can get the digital version for like $2.99. I mean, come on. Find nuggets of truth, nuggets of knowledge. And, again, our job is to find those nuggets of truth wherever we can and apply them to our lives. And then finally, every event that I do, I feature our music, the music that we do here. I created Neighborhood News Radio, neighborhoodnewsradio.com, nnrpdx.com, where you will find action audio theater. And I will tell you, too, if you go to the station and you listen, all of these features, action audio features, are totally improvised. There's like one that has a script. But once I did a feature with a script and I didn't like it, so I improvised all of them. Bob and Space, The Search for Bezos, half an hour, totally improvised. I do all the editing, production. And man, it's a lot of fun. So anyway, you can go to nnrpdx.com and you'll find links, or on the YouTube station, YouTube, Party Like a Writer, Raymond Quinton, and you'll find links to the radio stations. Again, I spent 3 years producing content, and there's some pretty crazy stuff, and that's okay. That's what it's all about. Life begins with words. Life begins with writing. Without writing, society would have failed to move forward. Without being open to ideas and creativity, no matter what age you are, you will cease to move forward. Again, I don't understand people that wake up in the morning and say, I don't want to meet anybody new. I don't want to learn anything new. My brain is still functioning perfectly well. I don't want to meet any young people. I don't even want to I'm in my 70s. I don't even want to meet people older than me. I don't want to, learn anything. I'll just tell you right now, I'm spending hours trying to learn how to play Autumn Leaves because it's one of my favorite songs. And as I'm going through this process, I'm going, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. That's how I've done it. I'm not the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm persistent, and I will keep studying this YouTube video until I can play Autumn Leaves fluently. All right, I gotta go. That's like 29 minutes. Holy cow. How did that happen? You see what I'm saying? It just goes by so freaking fast. All right, so anyway, I'm out. The good news is, for this episode, the Nebraska section is relatively short. It's about being a truck driver and driving along in that whole truck driving world. And I get to Lincoln, and then this next episode will take you to Lawrence, where I'll get to see my old friends. Anyway, thanks for joining. I'm going to take you out with some montage at the end after the video log of the trip. There's so much video, and I had so much fun with family, friends, and and the event. And I'm having a lot of fun producing and editing this Party Like a Writer half-world tour, Blackjack Kerouac literary mystery tour, whatever. Okay, all right, anyway, I change it every time, but that's all right. That's my prerogative, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna throw in probably throw in some Baby Bootsy at the end. A song produced, performed by one of my entourage, 20-something, DJ Franklin, one of our superstars at neighborhoodnewsradio.com. Thanks again. See you next week. Alrighty then. It's been a long day of driving again. You know, I'm just trying to get to the Midwest, so, you know, not a lot of, sort of intellectual processing here. I am in Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska, being chased by a storm, and I'm gonna call it a night. So I'm gonna get a hotel in Kearney. Weather's gonna get bad. It's gonna be raining when it gets dark, and that's the worst kind of driving. It's also kind of pretty out here too, but I guess they get a lot of rain. You know, there's thunder, menacing clouds, as I call them. That's a menacing cloud right over there. So, we just have to keep our fingers crossed because, tornadoes can pop up at any time. So I got about 45 minutes until I get to Kearney. I'm going to stay at the Quality Inn again, but as you can see, it's dark. It's only 8 o'clock in the summertime. It's still dark. It's still August 7th, so I've been driving since about 8:30 now, another 12 hours, and then another 5 hours from here, and I will have breakfast with Kevin in Lawrence, Kansas. So, almost there, but, I just have to weather the storm. And there I am again. Speed limit is 75. The roads are still crap. So, whenever I hit a bump, the van just sort of rocks like that. So, I'm rocking and rolling out here. I hit a real good one back in Wyoming. Almost bounced off the highway. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, this is about time for folks to be calling it in. You definitely don't want to be driving, during a wind and rainstorm. Potential, tornadoes and whatnot. So another 45 minutes and I'll be at the hotel. Hopefully they have a room. Signing off. Good morning, America. All right. It is August 8th, my third day on the road on this epic, it's 2023, on this epic Party Like a Writer half-world tour with a sub-theme, Blackjack Kerouac on the road. Mystery, literary, intellectual diatribe tour. Anyway, I get a new name for that, in another. So, I just left. The hell did I just leave? I'm in Nebraska still. It's a big, long state. Let's see, Nebraska. I'll think of the name a bit later. I'm still a little tired, but it's about 5 o'clock in the 5 here in Nebraska. 6 o'clock in the morning here in Nebraska, and this is kind of my favorite time to drive. It's sunrise. This is the ultimate time to be on the road in the morning, driving into the sunrise, as opposed to, going into the sunset or sunsetting. You're driving into the sunrise. It's going to be a spectacular sunrise, and there's still the red, multicolor, amber lights from the vehicles, and it's kind of cool. So this is my push to Lawrence. So when they do the movie on this, the epic push to Lawrence, the vehicle's running really well. 2006 Chevy Astro rescue van, which I purchased for $333 at auction. And I actually prefer this route over the Kansas route, because there's actually trees and green grass and hills and things to look at, whereas western Kansas is just desolate and depressing and boring, and there's just dust. So I'm gonna flip the screen so I can see myself. Okay, I'm a little dark. But you'll see more of me as the sun comes up. That I don't want to turn the light on because I've been mostly listening to the radio. I've not done any audio, but here's the cool thing for this particular trip. So I have these small cassette players. One is a USB cassette player. And they both run on batteries. The other is just a battery cassette player with a little speaker that has a little speaker. So I was going to listen to books on tapes like I did during the last road trip when I went back to Kansas for my brother's funeral. That was great to have these books on tape, which you can buy really cheap at the secondhand stores. So I bought a bunch of them and listened to a few novels, and it was very interesting. Now, also at a garage sale, I found an attaché, a briefcase that has I don't know, maybe 100 cassette tapes with all kinds of different music. And so that's it right there. You can kind of see it a little bit. It's this big, huge, old briefcase, and it has all these different there's rock and roll, there's soul, there's a little bit of everything. So my goal is to hook up those little cassette players and get some batteries, and then I can listen to those. I can also plug them directly into the USB stereo that I have, and so I'll be listening to those probably when I do my Gulf Coast route, because that's going to be a charge to get to Los Angeles, and then of course San Francisco. So anyway, I'm meeting Kevin Wilmot, my good friend, for breakfast. Gotta be there at 10, so I'm going to push it a little bit. Probably drive, the speed limit 75, so I'm going to drive 76, because that's how I roll. I'm a gangster, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, signing out. There's a little bit more of the sunrise, and it's going to be quite spectacular this morning. Got into the hotel, and it was a pretty nice hotel, so that worked out really well. And I had a few hours sleep, so I'm still kind of running on low energy. Looking forward to a full night's sleep, and also hanging with my friends, my family, Monique, Cindy Griffiths, my old friend from college. I'll be staying with her, but first stop, Kevin Wilmot, Lawrence, Kansas. Have a little breakfast, and I'm looking forward to that. Signing out.
Art is a seashell. Whoa. Art is your hair.
And you did all the art? So
Mom did this for me, though.
Oh, Mom did the background. You did the, what do you call this? What would you call this?
I don't know. I just found some stuff I mean, at the art store.
As far as class.
Oh yeah, art.
全くわかんないね。長崎県のやつですよね。わかんない。全然知らない。
Doctor, come here quick. I think my baby's sick. He's holding something in his hand. Thought it was a stick. Then thought it was his dick. Ow. Doctor looked and shook his hand. And in shock the doctor said, it's not what you think it is. This case is what it is. So those things up in his head, those look like tiny dreads. Mama said, you talking crazy. Tell me what's wrong with my baby. He said, I'm sorry lady, I'll have to talk to Dr. Brady. Check my genealogy, logged into 23andMe, checked his book, that's all it took. We're off the hook, he made a case, he's got a base. Call the mothership, ma'am, it's time to take your baby home. And me, check my genealogy, help me build a case. I was born with a base, it was easy to see why they called me Baby Bootsy. I grew up with an attitude, I took to throwing all my food and pulling nuggets out my diaper pants and eating hands full of killer ants. But the bass was always at my side. When funk came on, I let my fingers glide, and I'd take your ear holes for a ride, while the whole downtown danced from side to side. I was funkin' around the world, met lots of pretty girls. They love a man with a big ass bass. Baby, let me show you what's in my case. Sit down on the ottoman, baby, watch me work my thumbs. Genealogy, help me build a case. I was born with the base, it was easy to see